Hey everyone, welcome to the Be Bold, Make Waves podcast, a show bringing you inspiring stories of women who are growing and scaling their business. I'm your host, Laura Comark, a website and tech integration specialist who works with online business owners who love their work and not their website. Join me as we have incredible conversations about business, mindset, productivity, and of course, the website and tech behind the business. Let's go ahead and dive in to this week's episode. Hello and welcome to this week's show. For those of you who don't already know me, I'm Laura Comark, evergreen email marketing expert for coaches and consultants who love their work, but not their tech. I am so excited to introduce you to my guest today, Adrienne Farrow. Adrienne is one of my new online BFFs. We actually just got to meet in person at Renee Rebar's Experts Connect event in April, and she's just amazing. So let me tell you her bio. Adrienne is the go-to for all things Google tools. Her mission is to help entrepreneurs unlock the potential of Google tools, both to increase their productivity and create profitable digital products. Solopreneurs and entrepreneurs with small teams come to Adrienne to help them get their Google Workspace organized, set up systems, yay, and create amazing digital products for their business. Adrienne is the founder of the Go-To membership, the place to go for increasing your productivity and saving time using Google tools. Adrienne, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Can you tell our
of course.
listeners?
So excited to be here.
Yay! Can you tell our listeners a little bit, how'd you get into the whole Google tool world and your business?
Oh, it's kind of crazy. So I'm a teacher by training. I was in the classroom for about 10 years. And that was kind of when tech started evolving in the classroom. So like when I started, it was kind of a newish thing. We had some iPads and such. And then it was, I think like my fifth year teaching, Google Classroom came out. And I was one of the first adopters of Google Classroom. And then I found out, oh, I can get certified as a Google for Education certified trainer. So I was like, Google for Education certified educator. There's lots of different words in those things. Um, so I jumped in, I did level 1, level 2, and then COVID hit. And I like to refer to COVID as the great digitization of 2020.
Yes.
So that's when the whole world freaked out, especially in the education space, about how do we move everything online. And so I was already Google certified. And so I worked with the school I was working at the time. I was a special ed teacher in a life skills high school classroom, actually. So a really challenging classroom to go put online. And I was trying some different strategies and such. And so I started leading professional development for the teachers at my school. And that led me to get what I needed to become a certified trainer for Google. And at the same time, I found out there was a need for teachers on the site Teacher Pay Teachers, curriculum developers, to start digitizing their products. And so I got a couple clients and was doing that on the side and found out I really liked it. And then one thing just kind of snowballed into the other. And it was really the birth of my second child when I decided to stay at home, where I was like, I could kind of do this as a full-time gig. This is kind of cool. And so I was still digitizing products for curriculum owners and then also helping them figure out how to develop those systems in the back end, how to use Google for just more than selling something online. And then I also was diagnosed with ADHD in 2020 at age 35. And that was like a big light bulb moment for me when I realized I got to find things that work for my brain, not what everybody else says works. Like I got to find out what works for me. And so it was at the end of 23, beginning of 24, that I actually pivoted from working with teachers to working with all entrepreneurs and really delved into how to use Google to build systems and also to use it effectively to increase your productivity, because there's so many amazing things that it can do that people just don't know about. And that's kind of become my new mission.
Oh, I love that. That is a
Yeah.
fantastic story.
Yeah.
I know I find out new things about Google and Google tools all the time, and there's just so much it can do. What are some of your favorite like tips for someone that you have had these like light bulb moments that you're like, this is so helpful and so amazing that you can share with our audience?
Yeah, definitely. So my number one is shared drives in Google Drives. And I don't think enough people know about shared drives, especially if you have like a virtual assistant or team members or you work with clients, because ownership is such a big deal in Google. And whoever originates the file in Google is the owner. So if you have a virtual assistant who is working on their own Google account and they originate the file, and then they decide, oh, I'm done being a virtual assistant. I am going to close down my Google account, which has happened and I have helped people through. You've lost your files. Like you've lost what is yours as a business owner. And so shared drives is one of the number one things I help people set up and help people figure out the system for, because then you share the ownership with that person who's in the shared drive. And as the business owner, you can actually determine what level of access they have. So they could, only be able to add things to it or edit things, but not delete things. And so you're always in control of your own Google files. And so that is my number one. And then number two, close behind, is color coding your Google Calendar. I don't know. Do you do that?
Maybe. Tell me more.
Okay. So on Google Workspace, it's only in the paid program, not in the free version of Gmail. You can have one master calendar, and then you can give events in your calendar different colors. And then you can actually label, it's called a label in there. You can give that color a name. So when you pull down the drop-down menu, like for me, yellow equals work. And then like purple equals personal, because I love purple. So I had to make that personal. And then like red equals appointments. And then Google will take that actually one step further and give you a wheel on the side to show you how your time has been broken down that week, to show you how many things are in each label. So you can get a visual of like, oh, I spent this much time on work, this much time on personal, this much time in appointments, etc. So it's super, super cool.
Okay, so yes, I use that. No, not like that. And all the little heart emojis coming off my head.
Yeah.
I love this idea. Oh, I
Yeah.
love what the thing that got me was the wheel.
Yeah. Yes. The
The
wheel.
wheel of productivity, like that right
Yes.
there. I want that. I want that in my
Yes.
life. Uh,
Uh, it came out of a need because I needed a calendar that I could set up with like my Calendly or
mhm.
Acuity scheduling or whatnot. Google has their own. It's called Appointment Scheduler. I don't really like it. It's not set up very well. But I had a personal calendar and I had a work calendar, but then this calendar system wouldn't talk to both of those, so it could double book me and all this stuff. So I had to figure out what to do. And so when I found out that this hack, I could just literally put everything in my life on one calendar and color code it. It just made a world of difference.
So I'm struggling right now with something very similar, a few steps back from where you're at,
Yeah.
where I have my work calendar tied to my Hello at Laura Comark
hmm
account, and then I have my personal calendar, which is tied to my Gmail. And
hmm
so, and let me not call that my personal. That's the one that's tied to my Acuity. It's tied to my
mm
iPhone, and that one's like the master calendar because I had that connected before I started using Workspace, and I had like
mm
a finagled way for a long time that I was using a domain email because I didn't want to pay because I just wasn't at that place yet in my business, and I finally broke down and did it, and I never moved it over because I was trying to sort of keep things a little bit separate. But even just my husband was asking me over the weekend, like, oh, what's on your schedule Monday? I'm like, I know I have two things on my calendar, two calls. And I pulled it up on my phone. I'm like, nope, I have to look from my computer because it's either in my planner, my actual
mhm.
printout handwrite thing planner, which is upstairs
Yep.
in the office, or I have to look on the computer because that's where it is going to be. And so I'm like, it made me think like I
Mhm.
need to find a better solution, which I think the answer is I just need to connect my hello at to
Yeah.
Acuity and everything. I think I can get Acuity to talk to too. I
You
just,
should.
I don't know. Yeah, but I love that you saying that I can do the the color coding to see the wheel of
Mhm.
productivity.
And
That's gonna push me over the edge of like,
the
I will
wheel of,
make
I
this
like
change.
that. The wheel of productivity. That's what I'm going to call it in the future. The wheel of productivity. And I have like a shared calendar that I use with my husband. So it's one that we both access. And then I just, any event that I want him to know about, I just invite him to it. So like he doesn't like see my calendar, but then that gives him like a heads up because he doesn't need to see all my work. Like I have a podcast here, I have a meeting here, but like, he should probably be in the loop about my daughter's doctor's appointment, or he should probably be in the loop about this other thing. And so that's kind of how I get around it is like it's all on my work calendar. It's color coded. And then I just invite who needs access to as needed. Try and
Yeah.
keep it simple.
I have on my iPhone, I can access multiple calendars
Hmm.
when I create something. And so my husband and I have a shared email
Hmm.
address
Same. That's,
that,
yeah. Yep. Yep.
okay, that we created that's like
Yeah.
anything, anything medical, travel related,
Yep.
anything I want both of us to see. And that was because for like birthday invites, when we were getting invites to like kids' birthdays of our friends, they were sending it to one of his email addresses and I never was getting the information. I'm like, I need more information to know what's going on. So I'm like, we're going to create a joint email account so that we can both be in the loop.
That's what we did too. Exactly. Exactly. So that's the email address that I invite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because then you can accept it yourself too. Because yeah, I
Mhm.
tried for a while to like send things to my, and it just wasn't.
Nope.
He
Nope. Yeah.
doesn't, he's not on a computer all day typically. He's like building things and he's not like, he has a technological black cloud that follows him around. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Trying to make it as simple as possible.
exactly. Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
I could go off on that tangent for a while. We're gonna move on.
No worries.
But I love that. I
Yeah.
love that so much. What would you say that you use Google the most for your business, for like organizing?
So I call it, I have a fun word for it. I call it the Google trifecta. So it is Drive, Gmail, and Calendar. And I really think like that's the hub of like what I try and keep organized and what I access the most. So really all three of those tend to be up on my computer at any time. Drive, maybe not as much, but I'm in there quite a bit. And so, Gmail's where I communicate with everybody. So I have that there. Calendar's where my life basically lives. I do have a paper planner too, because I do need that like write down to connect, but I'm generally looking at my calendar and then writing it down. And then my big focus since the end of 2023 has been my drive is really making it so that I can access it quickly and like find what I need. So I kind of had that imposter syndrome at the end of last year. Like I'm a Google expert who promotes organization, yet you want to look at my Google Drive, it's a dumpster fire and you don't want to see it. And so I was like, well, maybe I should kind of figure out what works for me in my brain and like find a system that works. And then I can say, hey, guess what? Like I can show you what I do as a Google expert. And so, have you heard of the Paris system or the Para
No.
method? So it's by a guy named Tiago Forte. He's pretty cool. He talks about building a second brain. So that's like his like big thing of like basically creating a digital organization system that works for you that becomes like your second brain. So try and declutter your mind and then keep things organized on your computer. But his system is called the Paris system, and P stands for projects, A stands for areas, and R stands for resources, and then the last A is for archive. And I'm not joking you, I only have 4 Google Drive folders. There is no other folders in my main Google Drive, just those 4 folders. And everything else is then, like treed out from there. But projects is anything time-based. So anything that has a set start and end date. Areas are ongoing things. So like your CEO docs or your finances or your social media, things that don't have like a specific start and stop date. R is resources. So like those lead magnets that you join or that article you found or something that you want to refer back to later. And then archive, which is my number one trick to clean up your drive super quick, is the archive folder. You throw everything else in there that you don't need to access right away, but it's still searchable. So you can still find it when you need it. Um, but it keeps it all nice and clean. So I am not joking. I only have 4 folders now in my Google Drive, those 4 folders.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I need to go look and see how many folders I have. I will say mine doesn't feel too dumpster fiery, which is great.
Good, good.
I ended up I color coded and I
Yes.
numbered. I did numbering and
Hmm.
it's a pretty rainbow. So it makes me
Nice.
it's nice to look at. And then I color coded and then I know I have like a client one and that's anything client related and then my clients usually get their own folders. I have
Hmm.
a content and
Hmm.
that's where and then that has rainbow color folders within that that breaks down my content more like my all my email stuff is in there, all my freebies are in
Yep.
there, all my digital products are in there. Um Courses.
Hmm.
I know that's one. And that was a newer one. Someone was like, how do you not have a folder for all like assets that come with courses you're on? I'm like, I don't know how I don't. And we're both in the AI to 100K with Brittany
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
And I was like, I need a folder just for courses because I do. I have a
Yeah.
ton of stuff that's I've, all those worksheets that we get and all these different programs we join,
Yep.
those need
Yep.
a home.
They need to go somewhere.
I need to go somewhere. So I don't honestly know any of my other Drive folders and pull it up. Oh, admin. Okay, here we go. Admin, clients, content, courses, Canvas, which is my husband's business, Chat GPT, and resources.
Perfect. And
And
that's
then
why I say you have to find what works for your brain. Like
yeah,
four folders works well for me. That works well for you. Like as long as you can find it,
right.
it's
What
good.
what I found recently that like kind of blew my mind and changed my inbox a little bit because I'm one of those people I've never been inbox zero. And don't get me
Me
wrong, I
either.
still am not. But I want to have a better handle on it. Is I found a way, I saw like a tutorial or I saw something on Instagram, good old Instagram, and it
Yep.
was talking about how you can have multiple inboxes
Hmm.
within the inbox. And so then I went in and labeled it based on like hers was a star thing. And then I talked to my good friend Kristen Doyle, who you know as well, who's
Yes.
also been on
Yes.
the podcast. I'll link her episode up in the show notes. And Kristen was telling me she had a different system, but was using that same feature. And so I went in and kind of used hers. And that's been a little life changing because
Hmm.
I'm able to give things labels that are still kind of in that pending state where
Hmm.
they need acts. I need to do something with them, some sort of action, whether it's in progress, waiting for a reply, like something that's on my calendar coming up, and I just need to keep it top of mind. Even though it's in the calendars, I just
Yeah.
still want quick access to that or a resource that I'm not quite ready to put in the example folder of my life. I
Yeah.
need to do something with it. And so having all those four and then being able to tag the email and then
Mhm.
archive it, and then it doesn't actually like leave the inbox, it still hangs out, which is really cool.
So is it just across the top, the ones up at the top, or are you talking about the labels down the side for the ones for your different inboxes?
I moved them to the bottom because I was finding them
Okay.
really distracting because they're also kind of, I mean, everything's still out of hand.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm out of the thousands, but like it's still a little out of hand.
Yeah.
Um, and it feels less intimidating to hit like archive, archive, archive on things because I know something that I need to come back to, I can put it in a place. Again, it's gotten a lot better than it was, but
Yeah.
I would find things when I was going through them, like all the way at the end of my inbox, like an email from someone, and I left it there because I'm like, I do want to re-follow up with this person and
Hmm.
continue our conversation, continue the relationship. And I wasn't ready to like send them into a folder somewhere or tagging,
Hmm.
because I still wanted to keep them top of mind.
Yeah. I
And
like
so
that.
that's helped me. That's been really
Yeah.
fun.
I should adopt something like that because I really like that because I did a big Gmail overhaul about a month ago or so and really went in and labeled everything, created a ton of labels. And I don't know if many people realize this, but really labels are folders in Gmail. I mean, they really should have a different name, but if you label it, you're just basically creating a folder with all those emails with that label. And then I set up a bunch of filters so that I could automate those labels being on. So, like some of those newsletters that I get from people that I don't want to unsubscribe, but I don't necessarily want it like clogging up my email box. I just have it so that it gets that label, it goes to that label, and then it just bypasses the inbox. So then I just see on the side, there's 5 emails in there, and then I'll go check it every once in a while. But that has really helped to kind of like streamline that and keep it organized. I do have to check it every now and then. There was one time what happened was like I wanted newsletters from someone to go in that label, but not emails from her, and it started putting the emails and bypassed the inbox because inbox is actually just a label.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people realize that, but inbox is just a label. So you remove the inbox label, that's where the archive part comes from. So you do have to check those systems every now and then to make sure that they're working the way that you anticipate them working, because sometimes our best ideas don't always come out to be the what we really want them to look like.
Absolutely. I find that I have like a lot of those newsletters. I have like, I call it my, it's not a junk email, but like it's kind of my junk email. It's the one I use to sign up for all the things. I always, when I reply to my friends, I'm like, this is me, right? Because it's still, I mean, it's an active Gmail that I
Yep.
used for years, but it's not my personal one
Hmm.
and it's not my business one. I try to like keep as many newsletter things out. If I'm active in a program, I'll sign up with my business email. But other than that, I try to keep my business email very much like client communication because otherwise we get so many emails, which I think is great. That's a great way to connect with our people. And there's nothing wrong with getting lots of emails, but I think it can be overwhelming when we have so much coming in today's world.
I wish I would have done that. Like I signed up for a bunch of free resources from a bundle like back in December, and my inbox was just flooded. And it took me so long to recover from that I'm like, okay, going forward, I have a training account. So it's anytime I do demos with Google, like for
Mhm.
my YouTube channel or for my course or things like that, I use my training one so I'm not showing personal information as I'm demoing. So I'm just starting to use that email as my sign up for newsletter email, because then I can demo with that content about how to clean up your Gmail, and then it tries to keep my main one clean.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so important to do that. I have a ridiculous amount of like Gmail and email accounts because I have my business one, I have my
Hmm.
personal one, I have my personal like junk one that was really old from before I got married.
Yeah, does it have your maiden name in it? Because that one mine does.
Absolutely. It absolutely does. And
Yep.
so I use that one for like that's what my Amazon account's tied
Yep.
to. And if I do online shopping, like
Yep.
that's where that stuff goes. The personal one's going to be like actual things I want to make sure I keep an eye on. And then I have like the junk one, which again is more like it's when I sign up for all the freebies for things.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, yeah.
Yep. And I guess this is a good time to throw this in there too. If you're a business owner and you still are using an at gmail.com email, you need to get yourself a Google Workspace because of two reasons. One, with the new email authentication, um, I don't know. I want to say thingy right now because I don't know the word to give for it. But what's new, you have to have something with your domain to have that deliverability go through your email marketing service. And so I still see a lot of business owners, unfortunately, with an at Gmail, and it just kind of makes me cringe a little bit. And also, you're a professional. Like you need to have something that has your domain at the end, and Google Workspaces aren't that expensive. So to me, it's a really like critical business expense. And I do transfers all the time from Gmail to Workspace because it is not easy to transfer over. But it's a necessary evil, unfortunately.
And if anyone listening is like, what are you talking about with the email compliance thingy? I did a whole podcast episode on it. I will link that up in the show notes. I also have a blog post talking about it, but everything Adrienne is saying is 100% on the money. Like we need to have domain-based emails. Absolutely.
Otherwise, your email not might not make it to your client's email box, unfortunately. So, you know,
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about your membership. Can you tell our
yeah.
listeners about like how that came to be and tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. So my membership is called my go-to membership, and it is go-to stands for Google Tools. So anything to do with Google Tools is kind of what this membership is about. Hello there. Hi. So the main part of my membership is providing that support that comes with Google. So I have a monthly Q&A where you can just hop on and ask me any questions to do with Google Tools. I have a monthly tool tutorial. So I break down a tool each month, and based off of people in my memberships questions and some things that I want you to know about the tools. And of course, I'm going to be going through each tool kind of on a rotating basis, but giving you some of those behind the scenes, those tips and tricks, some things just to know about those tools happen in that live tutorial. And then I develop a business template for you to use every month as well in there. So I have a KPI tracker on there right now using Google Forms, which I actually need to update, and I'll be recording a live uh, or a how I am updating it so you can see how you can customize it yourself. I have a content planner on there. I have a Eisenhower matrix, the planning matrix, where you can determine like what's important and urgent using post-it notes in Google Drawings. And then what's my last one? I have just a fun go-to bingo where you can gamify what you need to get done in the week. So actually it's called Get It Done Bingo. So you can put all of your tasks and try and get it, done with there. So it's trying to enlighten you to what you can do with Google tools and then also make it fun and in a welcoming environment. And then I do have a core like curriculum part to it. It's called my go-to toolbox. So it's 20 things to know about Google that you can work through in about 30 days or less, depending on how much time. But it starts with like setting up your Google Workspace accurately, getting your shared, your Google Drive set up and your shared drives, getting your calendar set up, all of the different things just to really optimize your Google Workspace. And then the key part for me was making it affordable for entrepreneurs, because I really also wanted to target entrepreneurs who are just starting out, who might not be able to, spend $100 a month or whatnot. So it's only $14 a month. It's pretty reasonable. And honestly, my Q&As are my favorite thing. I love just getting on and answering people's questions. So it's been a lot of fun. I just started it in March, so
Oh,
it's
that's
pretty,
amazing.
yeah, it's my new baby.
I love that. Because I'm a techie person, I just always love knowing what other
Yeah.
people are using. What's the container where you have like the membership in?
So it's in Member Vault. Are you familiar with Member Vault?
Oh my gosh, I love Member Vault so much. They're
Me too.
amazing. That's a great container to have that in for
Yeah.
sure. That,
The
yeah.
the support there has been I switched from Thrivecart over to Member Vault, and I really couldn't be happier. Erin, who runs it, is a gem. She's amazing. And my first, like I joined, I think at the end of January, and she started a thing called Expert of the Week. And I just threw my hat in the ring, and I actually was their first Expert of the Week back in March. So my blog post, I can give you the link and you can put it up with it. But my blog post on how to use Google within Member Vault, or my expert week, was back in March. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, I love that so much. Yeah, I've been with Member Vault for many, many years. I'm in the process of switching over to Thrivecart
Mm,
only because one-time fee. And I looked at the Member Vault lifetime and I was like, oh, it's going to take me a long time to get that to pay off. I should have bought it when it was less. Uh,
yeah.
and between that, and then there's some things that Thrivecart can do that Member Vault's checkout couldn't do, which if you're
Yes.
switched, are you still using Thrivecart checkout?
I am not right now. I'm considering doing it with the affiliates and stuff. There's just been a lot of glitches with Thrivecart that I just haven't been super thrilled about. And their support as well. So that was part of the reason I switched, was really to do with their support, and everything that I needed to do in Member Vault so far I've been able to do. And I know that they're working on some stuff down the road. But I have been considering, especially as the membership grows and I want to add affiliates and stuff like that, I might need to go back to just at least the Thrivecart checkout part.
Yeah.
But I'm on the lifetime member vault, so that's part of that for me.
So that piece is done. I know, and I know so many people who use Thrivecart for the checkout and Member
Mhm,
Vault for the course
mhm.
fees, and it all works just swimmingly.
Yeah, yeah. And it's again what works well for your brain, personal preference. You got to find what works for you.
Oh, I love that. So I want to talk a little bit about some mindset stuff.
Yeah.
Just because, as entrepreneurs, we don't always know what we're getting into when we decide, I'm going to start this business, which really is such a like journey of, all these fears and doubts and imposter syndrome coming forward that I did not feel as much in corporate. Maybe I
Mhm.
did, but I definitely, I mean, I'm sure I felt like sometimes I wanted to leave my job, but I wasn't. I would say at monthly, I have a burn it all down try time of life in my business when things build up. So I would love to know, what are some fears and doubts you had going on when you were starting your business and like transitioning over to the Google tools?
A lot of it was like, hey, could I do this? Like, would people actually pay me to do this? Like it works for me. Is it going to work for someone else? I had a lot of those fears, that were, quickly squashed when people did. My business hasn't grown as quickly as I would like it to. Some people have those skyrocket, they do their business and then suddenly they're making, five figures a month or something like that. Like, that hasn't been my experience. So as I've been going through there, I have to just remind myself, like, I'm good at what I do. Like, I'm growing at my own pace, what's right for me and my own business. And for me, the classroom burnt me out. Like by the time I left, it was just not the working structure for my family was just not healthy. And so for me, the flexibility and freedom that I get from being an entrepreneur, that drives me every day. So I just remind myself, like, hey, like if I wanted to, I can go to Target in the middle of the day. That's pretty cool. Or like I get to go and be at my daughter's spring performance, or I get to not worry about the time that they tell me the pediatrician's available because I can either make that work in my schedule or like move something around. So for me, like that is what I kind of come back to is like I get to kind of design the life that I want to live. And that's what ends up really just like fueling me as a entrepreneur.
I love that so much, and I feel like I can relate to that so much. I know we had my daughter's field trip earlier this year. My husband and I both, we're both entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
both our own boss. We both took the day off to go be mom and dad at the field trip up in Santa Barbara, and it was great. And we're like, this is why we do this.
Mhm.
It's that
Yep. And
the time freedom for sure.
you just need to, and I think just getting those reminders and when you get in the hole of just like, you know, really sitting in like, what is my big why? Like, what is the reason I'm doing this? And that really always, I just always come back to like, I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing it for myself, of course, but I'm doing it just for that, yeah, that time freedom to be present, you know?
Yeah, I know. I feel when you were saying like when the pediatrician, when I need to make an appointment and it's yes, I can make that time work. I that to me is huge also. It's
Yeah.
having the freedom with when I call the doctors for my kids and
Mhm.
yes, I can be there. Whatever time slot you have, I can make that work. And
And for me as a teacher, I had to do sub plans. Like if I'm sick or my kids are sick, I can work while they're sick, or I can just say, "Hey, I'm taking the day off and it's not going to be the end of the world." And I have so many memories of being up at like 4 in the morning typing up sub plans, like so super sick because I decided to call in because I wasn't going to be able to be there for my kids, like my classroom, but somehow I still had to work to get them the stuff that they needed. And it's really, it's not fair to those who are still in the classroom. I still have so much respect for those teachers who are still in the classroom, but it was just not going to be sustainable, for me and my family anymore.
yeah, our teachers are amazing. They
Yeah,
really
they
are.
are.
They really are.
Yeah.
I would love to know. I am such a huge fan of celebration and celebrating our wins and all the actions we take. Because, again, as moms who are raising children, businesses, and trying to wear all the hats and do all the things, and I mean, it's hard. Entrepreneurship is hard. It's never goes as fast as we would like it to. And as much as we would love it to be this like upward, slope, it is not. It is much more of this like crazy roller coaster, like the one I went on with Kristen Doyle at
New York, New York.
at New York, and Las Vegas. That is on that roller coaster was entrepreneurship. It was
I love that.
very bumpy. My head felt like it was spinning, and we went upside down a few times, and it was a little wild. And I was very anxious and I was very glad to get off that
I'm
road.
I'm going to think of that every time I see that. For the listeners, I live in Las Vegas, so I actually like see those things on a regular basis. So now whenever I see New York, I'm gonna think that's my entrepreneurship journey.
That is, yes. Um, but yeah, I mean, I know even for me, I just started putting out into the world on the podcast income reports this
Mhm.
year, and that's been terrifying. But I'm getting a lot of good feedback on it, which is
That's
great because
awesome.
it's great to see the back end of someone's business because I know it can look really all together from the Instagram side of things. And really on the back end, we're all just trying to figure this out and flying by the seat of our pants. Like we are building this plane as it is flying, people.
Staying afloat, staying afloat.
Just keep swimming, just keep
Yes.
swimming. So that's my long introduction to asking you the question of what are you proud of that we can all celebrate you today? That you just really, even if it's just like, I didn't burn my business down today, like that's something to be proud of. I love asking people what their wins are and how we can celebrate you.
Awesome. Well, in the beginning, like I said, in the beginning of 2024, I decided, okay, I'm gonna just lean into Google Tools. And so I decided to try and push my shiny object syndrome to the side. And I call it my go-to dashboard. And I created it in Google Sheets. And it is literally like a hub for my business. I have links to all of my like docs that I need on a regular basis, all my sheets. I have stats and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm bundle this up and sell it as like a low ticket mini course and see how it goes. And I haven't expected it to be as popular as it was, and I have almost 500 people who've grabbed this from me. And it just has made me like super excited to see the feedback that has come through and been like, this has been like life changing for my business. I like this has been like I have fun filling this out. I just had someone reach out to me about like getting a license for it so that they could, use it with their clients. And so something that I created for myself, like just to see the positivity out there is amazing. So yeah, I'll definitely if I haven't given you the link already, I'll give you the link for that. It is like it's my baby. It's my baby. And I love it so much. So I'm just so every time I see that number go up, I'm like, I don't think because I actually don't really make much money from it because I keep it low cost. But I think of like how much it's providing as a service to people. And that's what brings me joy out of it.
I love that. I love hearing that things I'm creating, like content I'm putting out, that it resonates with people, that's helping people. Like that fills me for sure as well. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, what would you say that you are doing in the industry where you're making waves? Are you being
Mm.
bold and doing things a little different than some of the other Google people?
So for me, I think it's been really leaning into what works well for your brain. And like that has been my like mantra a lot is that stepping away from the typical and really realizing that like so many entrepreneurs are neurospicy. So many of us, our brains don't work the same way as those who are in other facets of society and that's why we're entrepreneurs because we're creative we want the different aspects and such and so like leaning into more of the system side of Google and leaning more into like how to make it work for you and your brain. And let me give you those tips, tricks, hacks, things that you can think about to create your own system. I think that's really where I like am making some waves and doing something different. Rather than just a straight how to, like, let me just how to use Google. Let's take it a step further and think of it as a system that's going to just be a different system for your brain, you know?
Oh, I love that so much. I could seriously sit here and talk to you all day about this.
Me too.
We are getting close to our time. I do have one question that I ask everyone who comes on the show. And what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who is growing and scaling their business to help them be bolder, make waves?
Stay true to yourself and find what is your inner power. That inner strength, that inner drive that keeps you going because when that roller coaster sends you upside down, like that's what you're going to need to like hone in on and that like never give up framework. Like I tell myself I can do hard things all the time. I can do this. This is going to happen for me. It is slow and steady wins the race. And also, one other thing is just not to compare yourself to others, because even if you're doing the same thing as someone else, you're doing it differently. And that was something big that I heard recently from someone, is that people follow you for you. Like you could be doing the exact same thing as someone else, but you're connecting with your audience because of who you are. So just really stay true to yourself.
I love that so much. And it is so true. I mean, I know I even do it. I compare myself to others and I'm like, stop, don't do that. And what
Mhm.
I've tried to do is go back and look at like years prior, look at my income, my P&L, and see how far I've come.
Mhm.
And that's something that's really helped me in being like, or taking my P&L, my profit and loss, and starting it from like running it in QuickBooks of like from the beginning to
Yeah.
now. And I'm like, oh, look at all that money. Like that's fun because that's where you can really like see like again where the numbers have shifted. And again, it's not all straight up. It's that roller coaster.
Yep. Yep. And you might re-niche and things like that. And then that's going to change things too. Like I re-niched in February. And so actually really January. So like it's that roller coaster.
It is.
It's that upside down roller coaster.
And it's your business. You get to run it how you want to. I'm in the middle of a pivot. I've been pivoting from, website and tech integrations to evergreen email systems. And that's been a very interesting journey that I've been on, but we'll talk more about that another time. So,
Sounds good.
Adrienne, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Can you tell our listeners where they can come find you, where they can check out your membership, all the things that I will link up in the show notes?
Yeah, all of my links are on my website at www.adriennefarrow.com. The courses and services and stuff are also on go-to.adriennefarrow.com. I'm the Adrienne Farrow on Instagram, and then my YouTube channel is just my name, Adrienne Farrow, and I have a lot of tutorials, tips, tricks. That's going to be a big focus of mine is growing that, so definitely subscribe because there'll be a lot of really cool videos coming out soon.
Wonderful. I will link all that in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. This was such a fun conversation.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. Be sure to check out the show notes at lauracomark.com/podcast. And if you're ready to turn your website into a marketing machine, get more sales, save time, and simplify the back end of your business, grab my free resource, Power Integrations for your website. Head on over to lauracomark.com/power. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe. And also, I'll just love you forever if you leave me a review. It helps get this podcast in front of other people that can help inspire. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you next week. Bye now.